It's a pleasure to be here, Bruce. Thanks for having me on your show.
No problem.
And my name's William Dayton Holbert. I'm incarcerated in the Republic of Panama's prison system. I'm an American. I'm 42 years old. I was a professional killer industry. I'm inside for 5 homicides. I'm serving a 46-year sentence. I'm 12 years into that sentence. I'm in a third world prison here in Panama, the Republic of Panama. I'm in the worst section of the worst prison, the most dangerous, most violent section, most dangerous and violent prison in all Central America. I run the church as the pastor of the church here in the prison. I said already, but I've been incarcerated for 12 years. I've seen all kinds. I've lived in every single different level of security during those 12 years. I've been from minimum to maximum security. I'm in a maximum security prison now in the Republic of Panama. When I was free, I was put in prison when I was 30 years old. I'm 42 years old now. I grew up in the mountains of western North Carolina. It's a really long and storied story how I got to the terrible state of affairs where I am now today. And I'm just really excited to be here on this True Crime podcast with Bruce.
Yeah, I just actually finished your book the other day. Yeah, it's crazy, like, just all the stories you're telling about being in Panama and stuff, like in the prison with, I laughed at the one guard where you took his gun and hit it.
Yeah, it's a crazy place. I mean, it's a wholly different system. I mean, it's not, the prison system in the Republic of Panama isn't anything like what you think of a prison system in the United States. This is the way I compare it like this. It's like a concentration camp, but without a death camp. I mean, it's not a death camp. It's not like a place where they execute people or whatever, or put people to kill people. But it's just like a warehouse for human flesh. When you go to prison in Panama, they just stick your ass into like, okay, for instance, here's a for instance. I'm in a prison that has 5,000 men. That's absolutely unheard of in the United States. There's no prisons that have 5,000 men. They're like a thousand man prison is a huge prison, you know.
What's
there's 5,000 prisoners in this prison, and this prison is part of a complex that has 15,000. Excuse me, no, that's like 13,000 prisoners. And there's probably beds for about 6,000.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
The overcrowding is incredible.
So yeah, that's so way.
Situation. And then the way the guard system works is the prisoners themselves are in control of the prison completely on the inside. The only thing you can't do is leave. Meaning that if you cross the line, they'll shoot. The cops on the outside will shoot you. And they have armed police all the way around you. They got M16s and all kind of stuff, you know, and the guard towers and stuff on the outside of the perimeter. But on the inside of most prisons, not the one that I'm in a very difficult prison, but on the inside of most prisons in Panama, the guards are unarmed and the prisoners are armed. The prisoners have firearms. The prisoners have bought firearms from the police to maintain the drug trade, which goes on inside, which is the main source of revenue for prisoners on the inside. In a Panamanian prison, nobody gives you clothing. Nobody gives you food. There is food. The state actually provides food, but it's not edible. I mean, it's really like a cup of white rice and a hot dog. That's a meal. And so, I mean, you can't live on it. And nobody tries either. And the state doesn't give you clothing, doesn't give you toothpaste, doesn't give you toilet paper. You have to buy all that shit. So having to buy all that stuff generates a need for money. And any prison anywhere you go runs on money. Just how it is. But here, even more so. So it creates a situation where corruption is king, and you know you're being guarded by men who make $600 a month. So you can imagine that and a cell phone sells for $3,000. A cell phone you buy for $1,000 in the street sells for $3,000 on the inside. So you can imagine the temptation to bring in drugs, guns, booze, whatever it is. You know, you got to starve to death on the outside. So.
Yeah, I do paranormal investigation and stuff. I've actually been to like a couple like jails, and then I went to a prison here in West Virginia where we're from 3 times, and yeah, they were kind of mentioned up there. They was it's been closed since like '95, the one, but it had been open for probably about 150 years. trying to think how many was supposed to have been housed there, but they ended up having like over 2,000 men. Like it was overcrowded. They said it was like 3-person a cell, and it was just massive. And he said it's kind of like we used like the one guard that done the tours was like at one point basically all the inmates inside were showing the new guards like where to go, like what key, what to win. And it was, I was like, that's just hard to believe. But I was like, it does happen though. Which is there like a lot of turnover, like it is in the United States with the guards and stuff? Because I know here, like,
well, yeah. The thing about it is, like, to be a prison guard here, you got to go to school for 6 months, and that's it. You go to school for 6 months, and they make you a prison guard, and then but you signed on what happens is you have to sign on to be a prison guard here, and they give the sign for like 2 years. It's like a hitch in the army in the States. Mm-hmm. These guys are tied down, and like the majority of them figure out in that 2 years that this is not for me, and so at least half of them stop being prison guards in 2 years. You have this huge turnover of new people all the time. And the new ones are really the pain in the ass, because they've been through the system and they come out thinking that everything's by the book, and it's like, God, you have to be careful with the new ones that they don't rat on you and stuff because they don't know how it is yet. Like, for instance, we get new cops here. I had one the other day, a new cop, and he was a terrible pain in the ass, and I'm like trying to, like you just said, trying to explain to him, this is how it works, and he's a kid. He's a lieutenant, and he's a kid right out of OCS, right out of officer training school. Mm-hmm. So he comes in thinking that everything's by the book, and it's like, man, I like the old guys. When they send us the old guys to take care of it, those are the best ones. Been through the system 30 years. They don't give a shit about anything. They just want to catch their paycheck and go home. You know what I mean? And so if everything runs smooth, they're not giving anybody a hard time. And the new kids are like, watching everything that you do, trying to see whether or not, and it's kind of, this is a really, even though it's a terribly violent place, it's a very laid back situation once you understand how it works, and that's really hard to do as an American. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've seen a lot of Americans have a really hard time. I had a hard time, a really hard time, for about 3 years getting it all figured out. But it's so different. The life here is so different than anything that you think of as a prison. This is more like Survivor or something. Like on TV, like everybody's just trying to figure out how to get to the next day alive. Mm-hmm. And but there is a certain ebb and flow of things. Like right now, I won't lie. I mean, I had like 3 years that were really hard, 2.5 years were really hard. I made a mistake in 2019 and did an interview with the Daily Mirror in England. And that interview was supposed to be about the state of affairs in Panamanian prisons with respect to poor prisoners and, economically challenged prisoners. And what they actually did was, he was a rock star in prison and gets laid and eats lots of food. Oh, shit. And anyway, so it came out in Panama as well, which I would have never thought in a million years that would have happened. And it did. And the Panamanian government gave me what is called a Panamanian death sentence. Now, it's not something that actually exists. It's just like a slang term for being sent to punishment. When they give you a Panamanian death sentence, they send you to Sector C. That's where I am. In Sector C, there's 160 of us, I think 158, something like that. It was here. And this is a place where they don't give you food, they don't give you medical attention, and you're not allowed access to anything or anyone. And if it wasn't for the corruption, you couldn't live. It wouldn't be possible to live if it wasn't for the corruption. The corruption allows it. You have to buy your own food. There's no phones here. You have to figure that shit out for yourself as well. It's a really difficult situation. The Panamanian government, when you make a mistake, and this is not like when you kill somebody in the street or something. I mean, there's like guys that walk around and kill 40, 50, 60 people and, walking around in minimum security prison here. So when you make a mistake and piss off the government, when the government sees you as a political threat for some reason, they can give you a Panamanian death sentence and send you to Sector C, where we're all here. The oldest one here is not me. I'm the second oldest one. There's a guy here that's a friend of mine. Actually, I knew him years ago. Originally, when I was in another prison, and he's been here for 5.5 years. But after him, I'm the oldest. I've been here for 2 years and 7 months. And this place works like this. They put you in here, and then you have to figure out how to get out. There's no way to get out. I mean, literally, there's no way to get out of here back into general population. You have to figure it out. And what I mean by that is you have to pull the strings on the outside or cry to the UN or some other way to get out. I'm trying to do those things right now, and I've been very unsuccessful in motivating anybody to help me so far. But the Panamanian government puts pressure on you in three ways. One, they put you in here, and there's like you're with other armed prisoners who are hungry and angry and unhappy, and there are firearms in here, so it's really easy to die. It's a very easy place to get killed. Another way they do it is they put so much mental pressure on you living here, so difficult. It's like 3 or 4 people commit suicide every year, and if you think about that for a minute, there's 150 men here, roughly, and 4 people are committing suicide. That's like a 3% suicide rate. That's insane. That'd be like 25 people or 30 people out of every 1,000 committing suicide. That's even in any prison situation. That's insanely high. And then also another way they get rid of you is you get sick and die. Like I had a neighbor. It was a really sad thing. He was from the Bahamas, I think, actually, and he got lung cancer, and they refused him treatment until he died. And then that was that. I had a kidney stone. I don't know if you know anything about that. I did not. But I had a kidney stone in June of last year. Oh, my God. I took 7 days. I wallowed in my own sweat on the floor, screaming, asking God to kill me without even an aspirin, and finally passed this little bitty thing. This thing passes, and I was like, oh, my God, that is what caused all this pain? And it was like nothing ever happened, But that's just to show the lack of medical care here. It doesn't exist. I mean, not only doesn't it actively denied. So I find myself in this terrible predicament of trying to figure out how the hell to get myself back to the general population. So being the person that I am, I set up a church inside here. The pain and stress of all this place actually made me look for God, because there wasn't anything else, and there wasn't any other way for me to gain solace. And so then after I did that, I actually set up a church in here to help the guys, and we do that. And then I got elected by them to represent the 158, I think it was 158, I saw the roll today, 158 of us here to the government. So I'm their representative, and also the one who mediates between the gang. I stay really busy, actually, and then I also have a job. I'm actually one of the only 3 people in here that have an actual physical job, and I only got it like 2 months ago. So coveted this job here, of being the one that takes care of everyone, one that distributes the food and so forth. So things are a little bit better than they have been for the last couple of years. But this is a situation that is alien to anyone in the first world. I don't even remember how it was, to live. I've never been in prison in the first world either. But I was just like living, just like to go to the store and buy a Coca-Cola and a candy bar. I wouldn't know what that was like. I mean, that would be like the greatest freedom in the world to me after having been in this situation. Now, it wasn't always that way. I hope that I'm not boring anyone, but it wasn't always that way for me in prison here. Now, the first 9 years, I lived and was also the elected representative of a person called David, General, David Public Prison. And in this prison, man, I lived like a rock star. And that's in the book, that's at the end of the book. I lived like a rock star, really. I mean, I ate food in the street every day. I got late 4 or 5 times a week by chicks that worked in the office and chicks that would visit me and stuff. But, I mean, like, my life was in a lot of ways better than most people's life on the outside was as a high-level, high-profile criminal. But I think that God saw fit to bring me to this hell, to come to terms with the person that I was, maybe. And really, the pain, I think that a lot of people, I know for myself, it wouldn't have been possible to change without this extreme pain.
Yeah. One thing, like I said, we were talking about, like, them not giving you anything. How much, like, if you pay for it, how much is, like, the average cost compared to what it is on the outside world? Like, with toothpaste, is it like, you buy it for like a couple dollars? Is it like way more expensive?
Or like, what you have to do is that's another thing. That's the thing that makes it so difficult. There's no PX. There's no store. So what you have to do is you have to find somebody outside that's willing to go to the store, buy your shit, and bring it to you in hell. This is a real problem. This is the problem that I have. It's not that I don't have any money, and I don't have a lot, but I have enough to get by. It's finding that person who will just rob your damn money and not bring you shit, because that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like, here's the let's say I get a food delivery and also like toothpaste, toilet paper, stuff like that. Once a month, you're allowed to bring it in once a month, and that's it. And so you have to bring all of your food in one time a month. And I mean, like you live on cornflakes, and like I have a lot of I have like powdered mashed potatoes, shit that you can reconstitute with hot water. That also is another interesting thing. You have to figure out how to make hot water, which I have that straightened out. But anyway, so I'm in the my money's in the States. So I have to get somebody in my family to go to the bank, get my money, get a little bit, like $400-500 out, and then they send it to Western Union to this person on the outside. That person goes to Western Union, picks up the money, goes to the store, buys the shit, comes here, stands in line for like all day, and I mean all day, all day, from 4 o'clock in the morning until like 6 o'clock in the evening, drops off the food, and then goes home. So you got to pay that person. Everybody that touches your money, everybody that touches anything, you have to pay. So it's double. I mean, literally, it's like double. Like, let's say a bag of bread that costs $2 in the store. By the time it gets to you, it's $4. You know, or powdered milk. One tin of powdered milk costs $10. They usually bring in 3. But those $30, by the time it gets to you, it's $60 because everybody that touches your money, everybody touches your food. Even the cops, you got to bribe the cops. You know, like a pound of coffee, 1 pound of ground coffee here cost me $25 to buy it off the top because it's contraband. Coffee is contraband here. So I mean, you know, and like a cell phone, the cell phone that costs $130 a street costs $3,000 on the inside. It's insane. But that's what it's all about. You know, it's about the money making racket, really.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. How long did you live in North Carolina? Like, is that the only state you lived in when you were here?
No, I grew up in North Carolina. I mean, I think it's probably the only place I've ever actually lived for a long period of time in were North Carolina, South Carolina, and I was in Kentucky for a little while. I was in some other states. But I mean, like, I've been all over the place for like, you know, a month here, a month there, so on and so forth. But I grew up in my original life in the States was based in North Carolina. And then after there, after just glossing over a lot of things, but after becoming a criminal, I became a fugitive and went to Costa Rica. I sent to Costa Rica on vacation, and I liked it. And so I went to the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica, which is all like the Jamaican culture. It's Afro-Caribbean. It's all like the Jamaican type culture. And so it's all, you know, it's all black people from their life. They speak English, or a form of it anyway. And I liked it there, and I stayed there for 2 years, and then I was working in Panama. I was actually piloting a boat that dealt with human trafficking. It wasn't slavery; it was people who were like being smuggled, like coyote. It was more like, that's a better word, more truthful as well. People smuggling Asian people into the United States through the Panama Canal. Because they come through the Panama Canal, come up the side, and then we drop them off in Jamaica, and then the Jamaicans, I don't know what they did from there on. They moved them on to, I guess, Miami or somewhere, or maybe Texas. I don't know where. But anyway, and so that's how I got really involved in organized crime. From there, you know, I think like this is one of the things I'd like to say, and I thought I prayed before I did this interview. I'd really like to start changing the way I do the interviews. To tell the truth, I'd like people to understand that it's not just one day you wake up and you know what, I'm going to be a killer. I'm going to kill people for money. I'm going to be a professional killer. It doesn't work that way. It's one pass after another pass, after another step down into hell, and from there, we really got to be careful. I mean, I remember being a kid, and like, I don't know why, but when I was a little kid, I always thought that the bad guys were the cool ones, you know, on the movies and stuff. And I think that we really got to be careful with our kids and even ourselves. Like, what are we putting into our minds? And I just put constant terrible, horrible things into my mind, and then like you begin to start acting out on those things. And like, I mean, I really wanted to be a criminal. I wanted to be in the mafia. I wanted to be a hitman. I wanted to do the things I wanted to do, and ended up actually doing. I concentrated on them so much that I ended up actually doing them. So and then I'll tell you, the life of that lifestyle is pretty crazy, and there were really high moments in it. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. If you're you're in a 5-star hotel room with 3 hookers and a mountain of fucking cocaine, it's really difficult to say that that's a bad time. That's a great time, you know. But those moments are a few and far between in the life of like a lot of anxiety, a lot of guilt, a lot of just really terrible feelings, and it's a terrible life. So I became drunk really towards the end. And that's one of the reasons I got put in prison. I got sloppy with what I was doing, but I became a drunk because I was having to drink at night just to be able to sleep. Because my conscience, not only my conscience, but there's just a growing fear of the life I'm living. Because like there's no retirement from that life. I mean, you die in it. You know what I mean? At some point, somebody killed you, or you kill yourself on accident, or I mean, like, or you get put to prison. I mean, there's no. I mean, how many people go into that life, and how many people turn out? How many people does it turn out good for? I mean, like nobody really. And to go into that evil, that lifestyle, you kind of have to be thinking about the moment, not really about the future, because only an idiot would really want to go into it anyway, because there's no future in it, and we all tell ourselves the truth to lie. We all tell everybody that's involved in organized crime or even any kind of crime at all. You tell yourself that you can get away with it. You can't. I mean, you can once, you know, but over and over and over again, the odds are against you. And so I think that one of the things I'd like to do most of all is to tell people that it's fun to watch it on TV and shit, but living it's another story. I mean, I won't lie, there's a lot of good moments in it, and but the majority of the time I was really miserable.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said, about getting caught. One of our, excuse me, our other interview that we done with a guy we've talked to for roughly over a year, like we had asked him about like advice that he would give people that's, because he was 18 years old when he killed his victim. And that's what he said. He's like, you get caught. Like, no matter if you think you're not going to get caught, you're going to get caught at some point. And that's interesting. You said that as well.
Uh-huh. It's true. The odds are against you. I mean, you figure, like for instance, in my case, everything I did was motivated by money. I mean, and that doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it any better in a lot of ways. It makes it worse. If you got some guy that's sick, he's doing it for compulsion to where he can't help himself. I could definitely have helped myself. But the things I did for cash, for money. I used to live a huge, big rock star lifestyle, on the outside when I was free. But I didn't have like a compulsion to kill people or a desire to do it. And actually, the actual act of taking lives was very not good. I didn't enjoy that at all. I hated that part of it, very much. But I did to live a lifestyle, and once you get involved in it, you can't get out. There's no way out. And so, I'm not trying to give myself an excuse. There's no excuse. That's what I'm here to say. There's no excuse, and you shouldn't do it. But and another thing that this is something that's interesting that the listeners might enjoy thinking about. Like people want to hear, "Are you repentant?" And I certainly am repentant. And then they ask you, "Well, you don't sound very repentant." Well, I don't sit around and think about things I did. And I think that people think I've been in jail 12 years. I think about what you were doing 12 years ago. I mean, you're not the same person you are today, right? 12 years ago, shit. I mean, that's a long time. Mm-hmm. And you can't just sit around and think about things that you did. You have to come somehow make peace with that and move forward, or you'll go crazy. So, like, there's two things that are kind of in conflict with each other. One is remorse, and one is repentance. When you're remorseful, you feel bad about what you did, and you sit around and you think about things you did, and you feel bad about yourself and bad about the things you did. But it doesn't lead to behavioral change. Repentance is when you feel remorse, and then you say, "Shit, I've got to do something about this. I can't go on like this." And so you make changes, and then you're somebody else. You know what I mean? And then you move forward with your life. That's what I'm doing, or trying to do anyway, and successfully. And kind of really in the worst conditions. I mean, I was such a fool. I waited to do this. I waited to do what I'm doing now, until I'm just in the absolute worst conditions possible to do it. I mean, I think back when I was in prison in the minimum security situation and on such a high there, I should have done all this then. I would have had a whole lot more and it's still not perfect, but it's not too bad for guys in my situation. So that's one thing. And then we had a podcast for a little while, but for a lot of reasons that got canceled. And that was a lot of fun. I did a podcast, and I played kind of a character. I was myself. I was Wild Bill, but I played this character. I was like the world's only living supervillain, and it was a lot of fun. And it was very serious. We had fun with it, kind of dark humor. And then I have a group called Friends of Brother Bill, and that's on Facebook. And if your listeners want to come and join us, we'd appreciate that. Friends of Brother Bill, and so you can contact me directly there anytime you'd like to. There's like 500 people in that group, and we have fun. And there's a lot of women follow me, and I really like women, and they really like me. So that's one thing. But with the book, Long Live the King, Wild Bill, that's a pretty interesting book. You read it, and it's very different. I don't think there's anything like it anywhere. It's a memoir of myself, like it was my flight to justice, and then my arrest and torture in Nicaragua, and extradition back to Panama. My adventures in the Panamanian justice system, and my first year in third world prison in Panama, and all the things that happened to me. And I mean, it's a situation that's so different than anything that would ever have happened to anybody in the States or England or Australia in the Western first world. So you guys go check it out if you get a chance. You can pick it up on Amazon. And if you want to contact me directly, you can come and find me on Friends of Brother Bill. Friends of Brother Bill. It's on the Facebook group. Got a skull and crossbones that says my brother Bill on it, something like that. So.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like I said, the book was really interesting. Like I said, I don't get to read as much at home like I used to. Having 3 kids, ranging from 11, 8 to 3. So I mostly read at work on my lunch break. So like I'm reading a Bigfoot book now, actually, after I finish yours. But like I said, just like you were saying, just a lot of the stuff in it I found really interesting. Like I said, with the women and all that, you don't hear that in prison very often and stuff, especially around.
I'll tell a story. I'll tell a story from the book about one of the craziest things that ever happened to me in prison. I had to go to make a declaration. A declaration is like when the word in English, like give a statement. I had to give a statement in a case on the other end of the country. It was 500 kilometers away. That's like in Panama, because the roads are shitty. That's an 8-hour drive or longer. And so there was this team of policemen that were going to take me, but the guy that was running the show was a friend of mine. I've known him for about 4 or 5 months inside prison. And so he was like, "I'm going to take you. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "Cool." So I'm thinking like, I don't know what might happen, but this is a guy that brings in a lot of our contraband and stuff. So I was like really relaxed about the trip. So we go, and there's like 3 or 4 uniformed cops with me in the van. And it was like a police little minibus, like a little van thing. It has seating for like maybe 12 or 13 people, and there was 4 of us. The driver, and like maybe, I don't know if there's 3 or 4 cops. So we're going, and we cross over the actual Panama Canal on the Bridge of Americas. It's like one of the most famous bridges in Central America. And the guy says to me, I think he was the captain. No, he's the major. The major comes over to me and says, "Hey, like, we're going to Cherokee for a couple of days. We want to pick up a couple girls on the way. I mean, you ain't going to rat us out, are you?" And I'm like, "Fancy, what the hell do you want? Whatever you want. It's cool." So they stopped by this little park. It's like the park of, I remember the name of it. It's like the Park of China or something. China had donated, the government of China had donated money to build a little park there. And they stopped by. They didn't even stop. They stopped by, slid open the door, and these 2 little hookers jumped on, or little girls. I didn't know at the time that they were hookers, but they were, and they jumped on. So they shut the door. So we're going down the road, and the girls are looking at me. Now, I want you to understand something. In order to read this book and understand the book, you have to understand that in Panama, I'm more famous in the Republic of Panama, a country of 4 million people. I am more famous than like Ted Bundy is in the States, a lot more. I'm dating a girl right now, and on her cell phone, she has my photograph on her cell phone. Everywhere, on like the lock screen of her phone, everywhere she goes, people are like, "Why you got Wild Bill on your phone?" And so El Salvaje Bill is what they call me here, the Savage Bill. So, "Why you got Wild Bill on your phone?" And she's like, "Oh, that's my boyfriend." And everybody's like, "Really? Wow, holy shit!" And so anyway, so these girls, I was like in the news every day, so they know who I am, and they're like, "Wow!" And so I don't know what she's saying. I mean, I spoke Spanish, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. But one of the girls talks to the major. The major says, go, hey, Bill, she wants to come and talk to you. I'm like, go, come and talk to me. And so I'm chained. I've got handcuffs on that are actually handcuffed to a belt. And there's a chain that runs down to my feet as well. I mean, I'm really chained up. But I'm in street clothes. Other than that. The girl comes and sits down beside me. She talked to me for a few minutes, and my Spanish wasn't perfect during that time. It's kind of broken, but we had a good conversation, and she was like really convinced that I wasn't some kind of a monster or insane or something. So she gets up and she goes back to the major. She's whispering in his ear, and he says, "No, no, 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 no." And she kind of like she's like a little kid. She like stomps her foot, you know. And he's like, he kind of shrugs his shoulders. And he's like, "Fuck it." So he comes back and he sits down beside me and he says, "Hey, you want to fuck this girl?" And I'm like, "What?" And he says, "Do you want to fuck the girl?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, I can't let you out of the chains. How are we going to do it?" And I'm like, "Well, give me one hand. Just give me one hand, and then I'll be able to like pull my pants down and shit." So the guy takes one hand off my handcuffs and comes back, and so this is like it was not a very good sexual experience at all. It wasn't very fun at all. So the little girl, she comes and she pulls her panties down and she jumps up on top of me, fucks the shit out of me, which was really difficult for me to come because there's like 3 cops watching, and it was weird as hell. Wasn't a very good situation at all. And so, but anyway, so it finishes, and she's so excited, and she comes back with her cell phone, takes pictures of me, and she's like, "Thank you so much." I'm like, "Thank you very much too." So we're going down the road a little ways, and I'm laughing. I'm like, "Holy shit!" And so we're going down the road a little ways, like another hour, and the other girl decides that she wants to do it too. So they want to be, you know, the girls that got the fuck wild Bill. And so she comes and I'm like, "Well, let's go." And so she too, and I'm like, and it was like you would think that the cops would kind of look the other way, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, I mean, like I was like I was being in a porno, like they're all like watching, and that was like the hardest thing for me, like a whole bunch of horny dudes watching me get laid, and it was very uncomfortable. I didn't like it at all. And but anyway, so this is Panama. I mean, this is my experience in Panamanian prisons. All of the girls and all the officers of all the prisons, including this one that I've ever worked in, wanted to fuck me, or not. I can't say all of them, but like maybe half of them. And so I mean, I stayed. So it's still real. I mean, like in the situation I'm in right now, I don't have access to get to the office. You know, but like for 9 years, I stayed fairly well, you know, lubricated. Let's say that. And it was a really interesting experience for me as well because I wasn't really a ladies' man when I was growing up at all. I was kind of afraid of girls and stuff. I mean, like I liked women, but I mean, I was kind of nervous around girls and stuff. And I got married really young, and so I didn't really have a whole bunch of different girlfriends, and didn't really get that whole experience. And so I didn't get to do that until I was older. I mean, obviously when I was in the free in Panama, you know, I'm making money, and at least money, I had lots of girls. And the girls were always there today. And so that began the ladies' man thing, and then but that was like kind of all for money, you know. And then now that I'm famous in Panama, it was like out of this world. So I did it for a while. I did it for about 6 years. I went through. Had a lot of girls. You know, I'd have like on the weekend, I'd have girls come visit me. 3 or 4 girls come visit me. We'd sleep at night. Give a start like $50, and we'd go into the conjugal room and have like a crazy ass thing. And these are not hookers. I mean, I never in my life. In my whole life, I've had a lot of sex. I have had sex with a lot of prostitutes, but I have never paid money for sex, and that's a really cool thing. I'm proud of myself for that. I mean, simply because, like, when I lived in Costa Rica, I had a house on the beach, and I had like 10 or maybe 8 or 10 girls that would come and go. They were prostitutes, but they would come and they need somewhere to crash, you know. But like all these naked chicks all around all the time, or like half naked chicks that were like really physically attractive. I mean, like higher end, not like street hookers, you know, that walk the street, but I mean like escort girls. And so like that's how it got started. That's how it got started with like crazy women, and I just love crazy women, and they love me. And I'm trying. I was married. I got married, and you know, I'm all over the place with this story I'm telling you, but I got married in 2018. Yeah, 2018. And then got divorced recently, earlier this year. And so that was really difficult for me, if you want the truth, because it was a divorce I didn't want at the time. I'm glad I had it now. You know, I'm glad I had it now, but I was really depressed about that. when I got sent here, I got that sent to the Sector C, the worst place. It cut off all my power. And really, I mean, I had like, anything I wanted to get done, I could do. Anything from inside prison, I could do anything. I mean, like outside in the street, there's nothing I couldn't do. I mean, there's nobody I could put my hands on the outside if I wanted to, before I was. And all that got cut off. And so, like when you get a chick that likes powerful bad guys, and then you go from being a powerful bad guy to being very impotent, then a lot of your attractiveness goes with that as well. So that's pretty much what happened in my marriage, and it made me think a lot about my life and stuff and what I'm doing. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? I'm living like shit. What am I doing? So really, I spend almost all of my time, and if all of you guys come to visit me on Facebook, you'll see I counsel a lot. A lot of people. I don't work. I don't charge money either. That's another thing. I'm not trying to make money off my interactions with people at all. But I spend a lot of time counseling people. Maybe I counsel maybe 30 people a day. That's at least 20 people a day. That's the majority of what I do. And so that's one thing that I have going for me. Another thing is that I run a church, and I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Savior in a moment of absolute despair. In a moment that I wanted to die, and I really wanted to die, asking God to die. And I'm just all about Jesus. And I know that I don't live the best. I'm not the best example of a Christian. I'm aware of that. And I'm trying really hard. But I'll tell you that I'm so different than I was 3 or 4 years ago. Really, I'm different as a man. I spend all my day, every day of my life, I spend in service to my fellow man. And the only way that I've been able to make that change was through the love that I've found through Jesus Christ. Really, it really changed my life. And I encourage anybody that thinks that, Christianity, a bunch of stuffy people in a church, man, our church ain't stuffy. We're crazy. We have fun. And I mean, imagine a church in hell. Really, I mean, it's kind of like a church on a pirate ship or something. Because I mean, we're all killers and drug traffickers, and fairly. In this place where we are, we're all heavy hitters. You're not going to find any chicken shits here. We're all heavy hitters, so it's a lot of fun. And our church is really fun, and we try to help each other. And just the general feeling in the prison has changed from our church. I preach Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and it's generally something we talk about, like what kind of seeds are you sowing in your life? What are you sowing? If you're putting out bad seeds, well, you're going to reap bad shit. You're going to reap evil deeds, your deeds, and if you begin to sow good seeds and you stop completely sowing bad seeds, sooner or later, all of the bad fruits are going to finish. They're going to be done. And you're not going to have to eat any more shit sandwiches, and now you can have good fruits. And so it may take a long time. And like my situation, I really made a terrible mistake. A lot of terrible mistakes that compounded into a 46-year sentence. but sooner or later, it's going to end. And that's another thing that's nice about Panamanian prison. I'm not condemned to some sentence where I'm going to get out when I'm 80 years old. In Panama, you only do 66% of your time, and when you work, they give you a day off for every 2 days. I mean, like the worst case scenario, if my appeal, I have an appeal in court, and if my appeal goes bad, the worst case scenario is that I'm here until I'm 55. I'm 42 right now. No, 57, excuse me. I'm 42 right now. So, I mean, the worst case, they can keep me in here until I'm 57. And I'm in great shape. I exercise. I box all the time. I beat the shit out of these kids. They're 25 years old, so both time years. I was really fat and out of shape in the street, but I mean, like in prison, you don't have anything to do, so you spend a lot of time in the gym. So I do that. I'm in pretty good shape, and I've become proud of my physical appearance. And I'm 42. I don't think that I look it. I feel like I really do feel like I'm 25. I feel good. So I think that even if I have to do another 12 years, I can just stand on my head in the corner. I'm gonna get out.
Yeah, there's they always say now what is like the new 40s 50 now, because there are a lot of people I know that's like in their 50s, and they could pass being in their 30s. I used to work out there as a guy that he He's probably in his 60s now. He's probably, or he might have been. I know he's at least late mid 50s, late 50s, but he that dude was like all he was muscle, and he was like, I'm not in the best shape as I used to be, which he probably wasn't, but he was probably in better shape than a bunch of 20-year-olds. Like when he took his shirt off and stuff and was changing, like I said, he was just muscle. And they like I remember one of the charts that said he was overweight, but he only weighed like 170 pounds, but he wasn't very he wasn't a big guy. He was like 5'6" maybe, but he was just muscle. I was like, as long as you take care of yourself, you can, do good. Like, so I got a great aunt that's 80, 82, 83 years old. She lives in Florida, and she walks like, I think she said like 2, 3, 4 miles a day, like every morning. She could pass 20, 25 years younger than what she is. Like, you would not think she's in her 80s. So, yeah, so if you get out, what do you see yourself doing when you do get out?
There's several things I want to do, man. It's the lifestyle that I want to live. I don't know, man. I mean, I really want to have a family, and that sounds strange for a guy like me. I mean, I've done all the crazy shit, I screwed all the girls. I did all. I mean, like, did a lot of crazy stuff, and so like, kind of done with that. Even in my life, the life I'm living now, I'm kind of done with that, And I'm glad that I got to live it. But I'm finished with it. I think that I want to have a family. I'm dating a girl right now that's just she's younger than me. I like young women. I mean, I like all women. I like older women too. I just like women. But I mean, she's like family minded and so forth, and see the investment in me for a future. It is that way. I mean, like I got a lot going for me, and sooner or later it's going to work out. Like I'm trying to do the entertainment thing right now as well. I'm writing books and stuff. Got my first one published. I'm excited about that. And I'm writing a second one right now called Concentration Camp 2000. Also about Panamanian prisoners. And so I want to write. I'd like to have a family. Not a big family, but maybe a couple. A wife, and maybe a little girl and a little boy. I really just when I get out of prison, I want to kind of melt off into obscurity. Like right now, I'm not terribly famous in the States. I mean, like nobody knows much about me. And that's changing as we go along. I'm trying to change that actually, for obvious financial reasons. It's a good thing for me. But in Panama and Latin America, I'm like really famous. And so I think I'll probably go somewhere else. Maybe I go back to the States or something. Or I don't know what I'll do. I don't know where I'll go yet. But I do want to go somewhere where nobody knows who I am, really. I mean, because the fame of this is just too much. It makes things difficult. Normal things are really difficult. Just like meeting some chick and talking to her or something, and she finds out who I am. Like, oh shit. I mean, like she obviously knows I'm in prison. But here, the prison system here is like you're not so removed from people as you. This isn't part of your question, but I want people to understand. If you're not so removed from society, like in the States, you're so removed you have to go visit people behind glass and. But I hear like a visit, they just turn you loose with your visitor, for a couple hours. And there's conjugal visits here. You get conjugal visits every 15 days. And hey, I got my first conjugal visit back after COVID. COVID's been gone. I haven't been late. The 11th of October 2019 at 3:00 in the afternoon. But I got the conjugal visits are back, and on the 16th of May, I'm going to get laid. I'm excited about that. I haven't been laid in 2.5 years. But so what am I going to do when I get out? I'm going to write books. I don't know. I was hoping maybe to become involved in the entertainment industry in some fashion or form, like maybe as a consultant or something, or even I like writing. I might even try to write a script. I wrote one time, but I didn't think it was good enough to try to get somebody to make a movie out of it. But I think I might try to do something, involved in that. Like right now, I'm doing these interviews. I've done like several interviews, a lot of interviews on a lot of podcasts. I'm doing those. Just trying to promote myself, and then sooner or later some door's going to open. I don't know which one it's going to be, but that's how it works. You just got to swing the axe until the tree of success falls. I want to spend a lot of time fishing in the Caribbean, man. I mean, I fell in love with the Caribbean Ocean. I do a lot of tuna fishing, and that's day fishing. You don't have to, you're not going offshore for like a long way. You go out 7 or 8 miles offshore. You fish all day, then you come back. So it's not like day fishing is great. And deep sea fishing, but day fishing, deep sea fishing in the Caribbean is great. And I like it down here. I really do. I like it down here. I'll probably stay somewhere around here. Maybe I'll go to Cartagena in Colombia or somewhere. But I don't know. Going back to the first world, it's frightening to me. Like to me, I'm down here. I've been gone almost 20 years. like makes me not want to go back there at all, because really Latin America is a lot more conservative than it is, and that's normal to me. Mm-hmm. Than it is like in the States now with all like I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin criticizing, or or even maybe. I think in order to go home, like what I would call home, I'd need a time machine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's. I found it interesting because, like you said, you're famous there, but like where you said you're like Ted Bundy of Panama, like it's weird. Well, it's not really. It's interesting. I wouldn't say weird, but like you said, like a lot of people, it seems like because here, with serial killers and stuff, Ted Bundy, Gacy, Dahmer, Ed Kemper, like you got all the true crime shows, and like people like they're really interested in it. And I know like with Richard Ramirez and like with Ted Bundy, a lot of people, a lot of women were like really attractive to them, and they were like, I don't know, I guess you could see it was more like which with them you couldn't really touch them or nothing. Like you said, once you go in the United States prison, because a lot of times if you don't have people, like if your family or friends abandon you when you go to prison here, you have nobody unless people write you or something. And because there's a lot of there's a guy I actually write. He said he don't get a lot of mail, and he's been in prison for like 30 years. And he's like, people just kind of forget you when you go, and like I said, unless you have an outlet to get out there, nobody remembers you unless your case, like I said, was really big. But what do you think, like people that find the fascination with all of that? Because I know some articles consider you a serial killer, but you consider yourself just the ex-professional killer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It scares me when people call me a serial killer. I think of like a serial killer. Like I'll be honest with you. 1 year ago, I started doing what I'm doing right now a year ago in April, last year, like promoting myself. I had never done it before in the United States, and I didn't know anything about serial killers. I mean, I knew who Ted Bundy was vaguely. I didn't know anything about the true crime community at all, and then so I started studying it because I thought, well, that's where I'll start. I'll start there, in the true crime community, trying to promote myself. And I became, and then people will call me a serial killer, and that's like scary to me because I think of a serial killer as like some sick book that hurts people because he wants to, because he likes it or something, and that's just not at all what I'm about, and it never was. I mean, it's like I can't say that I'm better than those guys. In a lot of ways, I'm worse because they did it because of some sort of sick compulsion. I don't have an excuse like that. I did it because I was greedy, and so in a lot of ways, like I'm not trying to make myself out to be better than anybody else. It's not true. But I think that it's frightening to me when they call me a serial killer because I don't want to be associated with people like that. I don't want my name or myself, my persona to be associated with people like that. And then the true crime community is a really strange place. I'll be honest with you. And I don't want to offend anybody. But I mean, for me, it's a really strange place because I started going into these true crime groups on Facebook. And I'm like, hi, my name's Phil, and I'm in prison. And I killed a whole bunch of people. This is what I did. And I mean, I like to talk about. I didn't like glorify what I did, but I mean, this is who I am. And anybody want to talk to me? So there's like only two reactions. One is, oh my God, I worship you, and then the second reaction is, you fucking monster. And it's like there's no in between. Mm-hmm. That's the true crime community. Like I have a lot of girls that are like I literally, like daily, I get women like today, happen today. It's like there's like vagina pictures in my, I want to fuck you, and like, well, yeah, that's everybody does. So I mean, and that sounds like really like, oh, I'm the shit. I don't feel like I'm the shit. I'm just saying it's the truth. And then the other side of that coin is that they hate you, and there's no in between. So that's the true crime community. You get the ones that are like adore you, and ones that absolutely love you. And the thing that I thought was the strangest thing was, people spend all day long online dissecting serial killers, and then when you have the opportunity to speak to somebody that's in jail for murder, they're like very rude. And I thought that was strange. I mean, I don't mean rude like she's asking questions. Like people ask questions that are tough, like how do you live with yourself? But those are good questions. I don't have, but I mean, like people who are, you should kill yourself. You're terrible. We hate you. I mean, shit like that. I'm like, you spend all day long talking about serial killers, and you have the opportunity to speak to somebody who's actually considered one by the government anyway, you react. I don't understand. I really just don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. So, like, I think that my future, honestly, I mean, I'm in true crime right now, but I don't think my future is there. I think that where I want to go with things is more like along the line of personal motivation, or I want to be a success story. I really do. I want to be the success story. I want to be okay. You know, worst to first, I want to do that. I mean, I'm in a position where I'm not going to have to be in prison forever, and I want to do that. Also, when I get out of prison, I want to help some of these Panamanian kids get out of prison as well, because the Panamanian prison system is just so terrible, and there's so many people here that are really could be productive if they just had somebody to help. Really, and I spend my time with that. I mean, I really became really fell in love with these kids. You know, like I'm going to say, let me check the time here. How much time we have left? I got a few minutes, and then I got to go like 2 minutes. But before I go, I wanted to invite everyone to come and check us out on online again in Facebook at Friends of Brother Bill. Come and check us out there. And then also go buy your copy of Long Live the King, Wild Bill. It's available on Amazon right now. Go check it out. And then I wanted to say this, and then I'll go. The kids that are in prison here, I mean, like the median age here is like 23 years old. I mean, Panamanian prisons are full of kids, you know, kids that are here for homicide and, you know, armed robbery and shit like that. And these are not bad kids, but you get a kid whose mother was a prostitute, he was a drug addict. From the time he was 3 years old, he was on his own, walking the streets. And I mean, maybe he went to a little bit of school. Maybe he knows how to learn, knows how to read, write. Maybe he doesn't. And then you think this kid's going to grow up to be a doctor or a lawyer? I mean, the gang life is the only thing that he knows. And so somebody is going to have to show him something different, or he ain't never going to change, because he don't even know there is anything different. And so that's where I want to go with my future. I'd like to spend some time giving. If God gives me the opportunity to really go and be free and be out there again, and I'm not going to forget these kids who've been so good to me in hell. Hey, Bruce, I really thank you for letting me be on your show, man. God bless you. And I hope that like a million people listen to this podcast, man.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk. Yeah, I agree there. Like, a lot of kids are just forgotten, and they really need, you know, the guidance. Because I remember in high school, that was one of the things that my psychology teacher says. Like, if your parents are like this way, most likely that's what you're going to be, because you know no difference. So I agree with that.
Exactly right. Hey, man, God bless. Thanks to your listeners as well for putting up with me. I'll catch you later.
All right, thank you. Okay, that was our interview with Wild Bill, which Olivia didn't talk too much in it, which he had to go take care of our youngest. She's been kind of sick. She's coming back over. But I hope you all enjoyed the interview. I really do like the whole aspect of, you know, the whole Panama prison. Like, that's weird, you know, just the basic needs that they don't supply you, which a lot of prisons here, like, they do, but, you know, they don't.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say that our prison system is coddled, but compared to other things, they really are. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Death Row is getting TV, CD players, and these guys have to find somebody that won't rob them to
Yeah, you really have to trust
get
somebody.
basic, like, toilet paper, toothpaste, things to eat.
Yeah, it's crazy. Which, like I said, Bill's book is really good. I read it at work, like I said, because it's weird. Like I said, I read, you know, true crime books, and like I said, I'm reading a Bigfoot book now. Like I mentioned when I was talking to him, like I read a bunch of various stuff. So I'm sure people probably like, let's see what he's reading today. But yeah, it's just crazy, you know, just all the stuff that happens. And I don't know, Bill just has that. He reminds me of somebody around here. Like, he's
Yeah.
40, but he sounds like one of the, well, like I say, he's 42, but he sounds like one of those older nice men that was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he has that voice, which he, like, where he said, like, he, you know, helps in a church and stuff there and started that. Like, he has that voice for it, I guess what I'm saying, because
he has a preacher's voice.
yeah,
Like, it's almost
I think that's where I'm going with.
It's almost a little bit like triggering, because like I've just had negative experiences, so like I don't know, I don't enjoy stuff like that. Like very preachery, and to me, that's in a negative way. To some people, it could be comforting,
Oh, yeah.
like, but to me, it's just like the ick.
But you could tell, just from, because like he said, a lot of people in the true crime community, they're like, oh, I love you, like we were talking about, with like a lot of serial killers here, like, oh, I love you, then you're a monster, because we've had that happen before. People will be like, oh, I love what you do, your true crime podcast, and there's people telling us to basically kill ourselves type thing in a
Well, people
sense.
hate me because I got a big mouth and I'm honest regardless. I'm not gonna sugarcoat and like change my opinion because people don't like it.
But like listening from our interviews from Joseph, and you see how Bill is, which him and Joseph's older than him actually. So they're both,
Really?
they're both in their 40s. So you're looking at two guys. Like I said, neither one of them, if you met them on the street, say both of them are out, you would never think.
I don't know. I might think it about Bill. I might.
No.
I might.
But it's just, it's which like what he said. He done it more not for the pleasure. He done it for money. Which,
Well, like if you're involved in the cartel and you have a drug problem, then like duh.
yeah, and you got a lot of, which either way, like what he said, either way, it's not an excuse either way.
No, it's not an excuse to do it, but I don't know. I have opinions. I just don't want to talk about them. I guess.
But like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed the interview with him. Like I said, if you want, I think I just joined his group today, but he is actually in our group as well, and I think he follows the page. So once this episode drops, I can mention the group or maybe share. But I think, like what he said, he had a podcast, and I remember one of the interviews that he done. He mentioned about it, like I think he basically called like the Karens, maybe reported it. Because before we go, like I agree with what he said in that interview, though. It was a Spoiler They Die podcast. Um, because that's what she was saying as well. The host on there was like, you know, prisoners need an outlet as well, and he's not doing nothing wrong. It's not like he's trying to convince people out in the world to kill people through the podcast. Like what he said, he was playing like just a character. It was just all fun. And technology and the times are changing. Like we said, they're getting a lot of them's getting TVs, tablets, like things moving up. And if they could become, get their name out there and success, because like I said, like he said, he could be out of prison, in roughly 15 years, and he's trying to get out there and get something ready. Because if you're basically, say you've been locked up, nobody knows nothing about you, come out, it's going to be a hard adjustment. Like he said, he's promoting himself, getting his name out there, and he's wanting to go somewhere away from everything where he's not known. But yeah, in his book, he does mention he is really well known down there.
I feel like that would make him want to stay because he seems very much like he likes that
Well, he said the
limelight.
Caribbean to fish and stuff, which that'd be
That would
interesting.
be fun to fish in those waters.
Yeah.
Which, like, I know he's in the prison, so I'm sure that it's probably like a rougher area and it's probably like the downside of Panama. But like anything that I've seen of Panama, like online or anything, it's gorgeous.
I know he says there's in one of the podcasts I listened to, he described Panama, and that was his thing.
I just
Was
want to go sit in a hammock and eat exotic fruit.
like you have your good Panama, but you also have your like.
Yeah.
He said like it's worse than the ghetto, like what people consider ghettos here. Like it's worse than that. But then you got your beautiful bees. Like it's basically got like everything.
You probably
there.
have like the wealthy side that like where the tourists go, then you have like the regular people living area where it's probably not so great, like middle class, like how we have middle class and lower class and like poverty.
Excuse me.
Like it's probably just the same thing as that, just like anywhere. But I would rather be there than West
and
Virginia.
like with him saying, which we could go on and on about that, how the United States is, and that's what he's talking about. He's not been there in 20 years, so and the way everything's changed here, like you said, what would be the point of coming back?
No, I don't know.
Like it would suck though to have.
I don't think I would.
It would suck though to have like the fame. Like if he went somewhere where he wasn't.
Nobody here knows him. Like who the fuck are you?
Well, not even that. Like just the time, but like being down there, like. Which only thing that would be like people would be following him, trying to like take pictures.
I'd
with
travel.
him.
I would travel, like, if that's allowed. I mean, I don't know Panama rules on things like that once you get out of prison, but
I'm assuming
like, I don't know
it
if you
should.
got probation or because a lot of countries don't have that. Just like with taxes, it's included in the price. America has taxes and probation and
Yeah.
things like that. They may not have that.
Yeah, so you just basically like
Once
gets
you're out,
out.
you're out. You're good.
You don't have to check in.
You're
Or
clear.
a limit of where you could go. You're just bye bye.
Yeah, just leave. Get out of my hair.
Which I think, like I said, talking to him and stuff, I think he could really do good in society. And like he said, he lived a crazy life, and he's ready to settle down and move on with it. Which I do like that he mentioned that. It's weird that he said a lot of things too, like that, which you guys will hear the Joseph Part 3 interview that he, about the whole thing about you'll get caught and all that. Like,
Oh yeah, because he's not an idiot.
oh yeah,
He doesn't have some like he said, he doesn't have an infatuation with killing. He just got caught up in some shit and ended up
well, like
doing
he
it.
said,
And
he got sloppy. He started drinking to
yeah,
basically sleep, and it bothered him doing it. But I guess you could look at it in that sense. Nothing against him or nothing. Like I said,
like he's intelligent. He's
yeah,
not.
he seems like a real nice guy. I enjoyed talking to him, but it's kind of like, yeah, he killed, but it was like he said, money. And everybody's got a price of what they'll do for something.
I'm sure there's people in the cartel and hitmen that have done a lot worse.
Oh yeah,
So I mean, like,
because he was charged with
it is what it
5,
is.
if I remember correctly. I think that's what he said. Can't remember if he said it
Like, not
earlier
trying
on.
to downplay his stuff. I'm just saying, there's a lot that can
Which I
happen.
guess why he would be considered a serial killer, like he said, by the government, would probably be the cool off period, because I doubt he killed, like a mass murder or
They're
anything, or
probably
a
just when
spree
somebody
killer.
said, "Hey, you need to take this person out. I'll pay you big money."
Because I remember in the one interview as well with a spoiler, if they die, he had mentioned that about like 2 weeks that he would take to find out somebody's pattern and stuff like
Which I
that.
really didn't say much on there, but uh, I kind of wonder if they ever paid him in like drugs. Like being in a cartel, would be like, "I'll give you like 2 pounds of coke if you go get that guy."
Which later on, which he might listen to this, but like
That's why I'm trying to be
what?
nice. That's why I'm trying to be nice.
Oh, I doubt there's been no issue.
I don't want to be rude, but
no, it won't be rude. But like I said, if you guys want, we could possibly have him later on with some questions, do like a Q&A like we plan to do with Joseph and stuff.
yeah, talking about that today actually for questions.
Yeah, because I know we got a few already to bring his way, and I think he'd be interested in. But like I said, I hope you all enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one. And like I said, hopefully, get this one shared out, and I will upload this on YouTube as well. Hopefully before you guys hear this, or right around, or a few days after, like I did with Joseph's. But like I said, if you want to follow us on Facebook, Killers Crawl Space, the podcast is available on most platforms, if not all platforms. There might be some like little ones I don't know about, because there's ones that come up all the time.
If you look up his name, you'll probably find anything he's associated to. Type in podcast.
Well, yeah, with him, yeah. Like if you Google his name and stuff, like I said, spoilers, they die. The crime piper. I know her. She done a blog interview with him, and he done one with Unforbidden Truth, which I haven't listened to that one yet, or I might have. I can't remember. I remember listening to another one that he done. But like I said, if you want to check us out, Killers Crossface, all across Instagram. I think TikTok might be under my name.
Killers Crawlspace.
Is it under Killers Crossface?
You can type in Killers Crawlspace or Bruce the Master.
Yeah, and it'll pop up. Like I said, you can join our group and everything. Like I said, we like people discussing, commenting, stuff like that, because that's the way we grow, is interaction. So, like I said, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one, which we'll be talking to another Bill. He's not a killer. He just visits people on death row and research, and actually has watched people, die with the lethal injection, stuff like that. Which you are reading his book, aren't you?
Yes.
Like he's got some interesting stories, so I can't wait to you all to listen to that one as well. Because I'm liking. I've noticed this year we focused on a lot of interviews, and I'm liking it, and I'm hoping we can continue roughly with that. So, like I said, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.